We, F35, M36, had been married for a little under 2 months. Together for 4 years. I loved him very much, and I thought he loved me too. Besides the usual quarrel and disagreements about dull and mundane tasks, we're good. He never complained about anything. Never. Our sex life was amazing, and he told me so very often. He even texted me, while we were at work, all kinds of NSFW stuff that made me blush in my office. Anyway, Friday I had only a one-morning meeting. My colleagues and I went for lunch afterward, and then we decided to go home. We checked with our supervisor and she said it was fine. And that's when I found my husband with another woman in our bed. I started running away in shock, and he couldn't really leave the apartment before putting his clothes on. Enough time for me to take the elevator alone. He's been calling and texting me all weekend. I'm at my brother's. My brother and my sister-in-law don't know the details, just that my husband was cheating. This morning my husband came knocking. He begged for an audience and asked my brother to let him speak to me. My brother asked me if I wanted him to kick my husband out, but I told him that now I wasn't in total shock anymore. Maybe I should just hear him out. My brother, Sil, and my baby nephew left for brunch. My husband looked like he has been crying the whole weekend and wanted to hug me. I told him to stay on his side of the kitchen island and not to come nearer or I would scream. He started first with a half apology and later explained why he was cheating on me. I never made effort for him. I'm always wearing comfortable underwear and never the sexy type. That's a turn off for him. He felt like I didn't really care. I was stunned and didn't understand what he meant. Why didn't you tell me this? Why not try to buy sexy lingerie as many men do for their wives? He said he didn't want to offend me by suggesting that my underwear was dull and a turn off. So it was basically my fault that you cheated? He didn't say no. Just looked at me crying his eyes out. I tried to remember what the girl was wearing. I couldn't remember because my eyes went blurry the second I saw them. He asked me what I wanted to do. That we could fix this. He asked me if I wanted to know more about the woman in my bed. She meant nothing. I interrupted him immediately and told him that I was good. Then to get him out I told him I needed time to think, even though I already made up my mind. I just didn't want him to stay longer to try to talk and argue and cry more. He has left now. I don't know what to feel. I never knew underwear was this big of a deal in relationships. I love cotton. Neutral colors. Mostly CK basic. I have a very large chest and honestly, any sexy bra is just a pain in the ass, having a whole day always trying to adjust my boobs in the cups. Big-breasted girls will recognize my issue. Dealing with all the unsolicited glaring from guys and even girls, when wearing underwear that shows the shape. Plus I don't feel unsexy in my very comfortable undies at all. Not once. I love my body. I work out 2 hours a day and I'm very confident in my own skin. And how could he say that he wasn't satisfied with our sex life when we were intimate at least 4 times a week? Was it all a lie when he said that I drove him crazy and how I could turn him on with one look at him? I will never understand men. He gave me a false sense of confidence. And why did I catch them now? Couldn't I just do it 2 months ago? Now I need to find lawyers and start a effing process that will take 2 years of my life. At least. Fuck you, K. Really effing fuck you. I hope you get fucked by karma wearing a sexy red lace G-string. Update. My husband blamed his cheating on me because of my underwear. Hi everyone. Since I got so much support last time I was here, I'm back for more attention. I didn't find my story anywhere, but thank goodness I still had the draft on my phone. I have it on my page. I have spoken to a lawyer and unfortunately annulment isn't an option for us even though we have been married for this short period of time. So I filed for divorce instead. My husband was so angry about it. So angry. He thought I was moving on too fast with everything and without even properly hearing him out. What more does he have to say? He texted me that this couldn't just be it? That he won't kiss me again? The last time he held and kissed me, he didn't know it was going to be the last time or he wouldn't have let go. But then he wouldn't be able to fuck Miss Sexy Panties, would he? Because he was in my bed with her a couple of hours after our last kiss, rolling eyes face. He's not the only one thinking that I'm moving too fast though. My family is reserved about it, but I have sensed that they also agreed with my husband about giving it more time. My brother even told me that I was welcomed in his home as long as I wanted, so I didn't need to make any rash decisions. This hurt me. My mother-in-law called me a few times and she apologized and asked how I was doing. Yes, but she had ulterior motives too. She is worried about the financial part of the divorce. She asked me whether I thought being married for under 2 months would make me entitled to my husband's property. I don't know if I can take half when we've been married such a short period of time. I still haven't met my lawyer yet, so I don't know anything about division of property. My husband bought us the apartment we live in. Also he owns some other properties that we rent out in a small lake cottage. I kinda understand where she's coming from since I myself don't feel that I'm entitled to half. Now to what my husband did yesterday. As I said, my husband is very angry with me and yesterday I knew the full extent of it. I received a delivery to my brother's house. A beautiful gift-wrapped box. Inside beautiful lace, underwear, my size. Thank goodness my brother and sister-in-law were out on their usual walk and Sunday brunch because I broke down crying. And I cried for 2 hours straight. After I calmed down I knew that my husband, after coming to his senses, would regret his very petty actions and would start reaching out to me. When my brother came home, I told him that I was going to visit my best friend and that he couldn't tell my husband where I was. My brother knew something was wrong because my eyes were still swollen, but he respected my wishes that I didn't want to talk about the details. So embarrassing. I just told him my husband did something hurtful and that he would try to apologize once he calmed down. I was right because my husband went to my brother's house asking about me because I wasn't picking up or answer him. He called and sent me at least 50 messages. I didn't read any because I had muted my phone. I also called in sick. Today my husband apparently showed up to my workplace hoping he would see me there. I'm so devastated and angry. I start crying the moment I'm alone. Why did he think he needed to hurt me even more? Wasn't cheating on in my own bed in the place I felt the safest, my home, enough humiliation for my husband? Why does he hate me so much? Just because I followed my broken heart and filed for divorce? I thought he knew me. I thought he knew I always followed my heart or I wouldn't have married him in the first place. I was so close to putting the underwear on and blast Instagram with pictures of me in them. Or better yet in my CK gray cotton ones. I'm happy I came to my senses and put my phone aside. Is the pain I'm feeling ever going to go away? Okay, I did something petty. I made an egg story with my CK, face not shown, with Beyoncé cozy as background music. I know I'm going to regret it because of the pettiness, but right now I feel a rush. About the underwear I received yesterday. I'm not gonna burn or return them or cut them. I'm going to use them next time I'm having sex. That's probably what my husband intended for me to do with them. I'm going to oblige. I'm not American. In my country it doesn't matter if he had the property before or after we got married. Everything we own together or separately is joint property and will be divided 50-50. My husband doesn't seem bothered by this yet. I think he's busy trying to figure out how to stop the divorce altogether. RN. His family on the other hand are more outspoken about the division of the assets. They're also trying for an annulment. Last petty update, I have now spoken to my husband. We talked about the practical things and I told him that from now on he could talk to my lawyer. He asked me if he could see and talk to me in person. I said no. He then told me that he knew my egg story was for him. He said he was sorry for what he made me feel. He always thought I was beautiful and it never had anything to do with my underwear. I said I know. He apologized for sending me the lingerie. He said he was angry with me when he did it. I said I know. He asked me to burn or throw them away because I'm beautiful even wearing a potato sack. I told him that I was going to use them the next time I have sex. And I will remember him and thank him for the confidence boost. He went silent for a few moments and then said I deserve this, I guess. I have cried since this morning. I feel like a child fighting a petty fight, but I'm done now. Nothing more to say. Now on to another story. And then causing the whole family to be up in arms about it till they came through? Okay, I know the title sounds like I'm spoiled. But hear me out. My brother, 20, got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything. It was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. And he rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was in senior year of high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I worked my hardest in the hope of fairness. I even did some volunteering cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago. And the only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for was a car. I wasn't expecting something like a new car, or a sporty car. Just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th my mom baked the cake herself. It was a delicious layered chocolate pudding cake. I got a sheet cake from the supermarket. For his they got a DJ. For mine it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mixed CDs. We went through whole party, and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me. But that didn't happen. I asked them as things were wrapping up why there was no car when my brother got one. And they said that they felt like he'd worked harder for it. I asked what he did that I didn't do. Because I did all of that and more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything. And then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it fine to get their firstborn son a car and DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something. Then everyone else who'd not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives. And my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back my parents were pissed. And told me I'd shamed them to the whole family. I just walked past them. Because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went by with a silent treatment between us. But then a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a white 98 Subaru Legacy that runs great. They practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope at me and said to have fun. I got the car. And they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know a car isn't really a right, but a privilege. So I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the jerk for how all this played out? Edit. I would like to clarify a few things. My parents make pretty good money. And also don't go out of their way to live lavishly by choice. They've always been moderate in everything they buy or do. Though if anything is stretching their finances, it's my brother's college tuition. He got a partial scholarship and my parents are paying the rest. I don't and never intended to ask for the same treatment on that. I want to work and pay my own student loans. Now that I have the car, I'm already looking into getting a part-time job. This also isn't a gender thing as I'm male like my brother. The bill of sale for the car I got says my parents paid $1,600 for it. My brother's car cost them about $3,000 plus if I remember. But I don't see it as a money issue. I actually really love the Subaru. And told my parents so. They did not share my enthusiasm. I also did try to talk about a car with my parents a few times last year. But they always dodged the conversations about the topic. I figured if I talked about it too much, it'd ruin it. And so I stopped. I would have felt like a brat to keep talking about getting an imaginary car. So I learned to just stay silent and hope. I can't go stay with my grandparents because they live in a one-bedroom condo. There isn't enough room for other people. After all their kids grew up, my grandparents decided to downsize to make their eventual retirement easier. Also, my grandparents know all of the details already, and they tell me that I didn't do anything wrong. And we're already planning on confronting my parents quietly over the car issue. But they took the chance to take care of the matter when they heard me asking my parents about it. As for my brother's 18th birthday party, it was held in 2020 during basically the height of the pandemic. Honestly, we shouldn't have had a big party like that at the time. But my parents insisted. As for my brother himself, he barely speaks to me, even before he left for college. He didn't show up for my 18th birthday party. And I figured that's just because he's busy with college, and he's not even in the same state as us anymore. Honestly, I haven't seen or heard from him since Christmas. And even then the most I got out of him was a mild greeting. I did thank my parents for the car. Enthusiastically thanked them even. But they barely said a word to me after giving me the Subaru. And when I thanked my parents, they brushed me off and just went inside. It kind of gave off the vibe that they were letting a brat play with his new toy, which was pretty upsetting. And one of the reasons I made this post. Edit 2, there was one more thing I forgot to say. I was really hoping to get the car because I literally couldn't get a part-time job without one. We don't live in the city. And we're 10 miles from the nearest public bus stop. I've always had to get rides to go anywhere. Now that I have the Subaru, I intend to look for a part-time after-school job as soon as I can. Edit 3, since it came up in so many messages. I want to clarify that when I went to talk to my parents after the party, it wasn't in front of the rest of the family. I intentionally spoke with them in another room and was supposed to be out of earshot of everyone else there. But my grandma eavesdropped and then barged in to start lecturing my parents about their actions. And that's what caused the crap storm to start. Update to my parents, getting my brother a car on his 18th birthday and not mine. Since I couldn't update in our /ida, I came here to do it. This is my original post link. I've not logged onto this account in roughly 5 months. So now I can tell you all the rest of what happened before college starts. But before that, there's some things I want to get out of the way from previous commenters and messagers. I literally needed a car because there was no way for me to get a job without one. I had no personal transportation, and live over 10 miles from the nearest bus stop. So for those who kept telling me to give the car back because they think I was either too spoiled and to accept life is unfair, or that I shouldn't take handouts, or I shouldn't accept gifts from crappy parents, etc. Please just stop. My inbox was so crammed full when I logged back on that it took some time to go through it all. It doesn't really matter anyway though. I did get a part-time job that later went full-time for the summer after I graduated. But 3 weeks into working part-time, the Subaru blew the head gasket while on the highway at like 45 miles an hour. The temp gauge redlined and I had to pull over and call for help. My grandparents took a look at the car and found that someone had ran a lot of gasket sealer in it, and it was still in the coolant. The car was basically band-aided back together before my parents bought it, and was then barely hanging on by a thread. It drove great, and I was never pushing the car hard as I'm kinda a slow driver. My parents claimed no prior knowledge of the problem. But their only real reaction was to shrug and say it was karma for making them get me the car in the first place. Well, that was a mistake because my grandparents were right there to witness that, and they tore into my parents like none other. My grandma told me to go wait in my room and let them sort this out. It was 2 hours before I was called back into the living room. My parents were on the couch and both looked like they'd both been metaphorically hit by a truck. My uncle and 2 other relatives were there now too. My grandparents had gotten it out of them that when they bought the car, they just looked for the cheapest thing they could find close in the area that still ran, and bought it no questions asked. They didn't even bother to inspect the car, let alone properly read the ad for it. My uncle, who knows a thing or two about cars, told me that the engine would basically need to be rebuilt because the head gasket warped the block, and it had cost more than the car is worth to fix it. I had to call into work and tell them I was unable to make it in because my car was dead. They understood and basically put me on a sort of unpaid leave for the moment. Now I want to point out that what happens next I had no involvement with. My grandparents just told me to chill for a while and let them and my parents take care of this. And they did. A few days later they came back with a 1999 Honda Civic hatchback with 180,000 miles on it. It was white like my Subaru was, and drives great. It's not all-wheel drive like the Subaru was, but it's great on the road and gets better gas mileage. There was also a list of all recent repairs done to the car. Things like a new radiator and stuff. My uncle also went over the car before giving it the okay. I thanked everyone profusely. My parents, though, had all the elation of Ben Stein on Valium. They said very little and just walked away. There wasn't even that vibe they had last time of acting like they were giving a new toy to a brat. If I could put it to words, the way they acted was just pure defeat. The Subaru got resold later for $400 since that was the best we could get for it with the blown head gasket. And that money was put into my savings. That's only one half of what happened though. You see, when I said I did better in school than my brother, I wasn't kidding. My brother got a 30% scholarship after he finished high school. Well, I got a 50% one. Not at the same college of course. But at one comparably good that was also closer. To say my parents were shocked is an understatement. Of course they just both looked unhappy as soon as the shock wore off. I decided it wouldn't be a good idea to poke the bear by asking them about it. But my grandma thought otherwise and poked that bear. And I mean really poked it. First she asked if my parents were happy for me. And they claimed they were. But really didn't show in their attitudes. So my grandparents finally asked what their problem was. Why did they dislike me? Their second son was doing great, and even went above expectations, and they can't be happy about it? Did they want me to fail? Were they hoping I'd fail? What is the deal? My mother looked really upset, and my father couldn't look me in the eyes. They both meekly said they were happy for me, and managed to say they want me to take the world by storm when I go to college. And even said they'll help pay some of my tuition as well, just like they are for my brother. My grandparents both sharply said that they better keep their word, because there should never have been any favoritism, period. I thanked my parents for their help. Got a light if not limp handshake from my father, and a very stiff hug from my mother. It all felt so forced. I was and still am extremely thankful for the car and the tuition. But my parents just drained the room of all emotion. I ended up asking if my grandparents knew what it was that made my parents act this way. I asked if I was an accidental pregnancy or something. And they gave me the "it's time we told you" look. Well, I'm not adopted like so many asked, but I was unplanned, sort of. You see, my parents wanted both a girl and a boy, but got 2 boys instead. My brother came out as a boy, so my parents were really hoping to get a girl on the next go. And they had a prior agreement to stop after 2 kids. They never got a girl. My grandma told me they refused to find out my gender till after I was born. They were convinced I'd be born female. And they bought a lot of baby stuff for a girl. And they didn't get a girl. My grandma said I ended up using all of my brother's hand-me-downs till I was 3 years old because my parents had bought so much girl stuff in advance that they couldn't use. So I was just a disappointment to them from the time I was born. My grandparents said that they know my parents are screwed up. But they've been the way they are for so long now that there's no point in expecting them to change. Since then my parents hadn't spoken to me much about college. In fact they ignore the subject as much as they can. And thanks to some of the warnings I got from people who messaged me making me paranoid, I called the college I've been accepted to and made sure to tell them that if anyone calls or emails pretending to be me, or my parents call trying to say I'm not coming, then to call me for a double or even triple check if anything like that happens. I mean, I kind of doubt my parents would do that sort of thing. Especially after everything that's happened. But I felt like playing it safe was the better option. Though there was something that I really didn't expect to happen. And that was my brother calling me. He called me out of the blue to talk. He said our grandparents called and told him everything. He told me he was sorry for what happened in his own way. And he hopes that once I'm on my own, I won't need to ever come back. He actually admitted to me that when he finishes college, he's going to stay in the state he's in because he likes it there. Our parents I do know actually really want him to come back when he gets his degree. But it looks like that's not happening. I said I don't blame him. And I may do the same. The rest of the conversation was a bit awkward because we aren't really used to speaking to each other much anymore. My grandparents and the rest of the family held a surprise party for me over the weekend. And they made it almost like a repeat of my brother's 18th birthday. There was a DJ, and a big chocolate cake my grandma made. I couldn't thank them all enough. My parents attended the party. But they were like wallflowers the entire time. They didn't say or do much. Just stayed sitting at a far table in the corner and drank beer quietly. The look of defeat they had was even greater now. I think the party wasn't just to congratulate me, but to also rub in my parents' faces that they should have done better. Because the rest of the family have made their disappointment in them clear. They seemed like they wanted to leave the party for a while. Can't say I blame them. They were being humiliated into staying where they were. My grandma said that you're never too old to be taught a lesson in humility. As for my personal life, my part-time job went to full-time after high school, and I've been working hard to build my savings before I leave for college. I made minimum wage, but a job is a job. And I want to leave it with my best effort put in before my 2 weeks notice are up. I doubt I'm gonna be coming back here to make another update. And after my first post I'm just so tired of all the negative comments. About 95% of the comments on my original post were positive. And I want to thank all of those who had nice things to say. You people rock. But the negative comments were so bad that I found it to be mentally draining. Some of the people who commented such negativity honestly feel like they've got worse issues than me. Lots of projecting maybe. If anyone had something harsh but constructive to say, that was fine. But some people just raged at me like they were foaming at the mouth. I really don't want more of that.